So the first book that I chose to do was A Rainbow of Friends by P.K. Hallinan, and this is what the front cover looks like. The illustrations are sort of cartoon looking. This book does include a child who is in a wheelchair that is playing basketball, so it includes a child with a disability, which I think is cool. The age group of this book is ages 3 through 5. And this book is it's a short book for younger children, ages 3 to 5, and it has poem-like lines on each page that describe how everyone's different, but we can still be friends. The book mentions that some friends may be challenged in movement or speech, like the one I just showed you, and some friends may be good at things, some friends are not, some friends may look different than you, and the end of the book says that if we work together, goals can be reached with a rainbow of friends, which is the title of the book. So, the lesson that children can learn from this book is that you can have friends who are different than you are, and that's okay. So one activity that I would do with this book is I would have the children create their own rainbow of friends with their classmates, and I would do this by giving each child a piece of paper with a t-shirt cut out already, and on that shirt I would have them write 3 things about themselves that someone wouldn't know just by looking at them. So like their different interests or hobbies or skills and things like that. And then when everyone's done, we could make a collage on the wall or a bulletin board with their t-shirts, and then either they could draw their face or like picture cutouts of their face. This activity would enhance the moral of the story by showing that everyone's different, and there may be things that you don't know about somebody just by looking at them. Just because they're different doesn't mean you don't have the same interests or hobbies. It would also be a good opportunity to allow the students to learn something new about their classmates that maybe they didn't know. It would be great to do at the beginning of the year. And it would also give them a chance to practice their writing skills. So I would do this with either like a kindergarten or first grade class. Maybe not at the beginning of the year with kindergarten, maybe towards the end of the year, but still a great opportunity to practice writing. The second book that I chose to do was Hats Off to Hair by Virginia Kroll, illustrated by Kay Life. This book is for ages 4 through 8, and the illustrations in this book are a little bit more lifelike than the illustrations in the previous book. This book goes through different hairstyles of children from different races and cultures as well, and basically each page just names a different hairstyle and in like a poem fashion. So it's a longer book, but each page just has a few words that are written kind of like a poem with rhyming words. It describes all different types of hair, from mohawks to cornrows to queues, and it shows multiple races and cultures, from Caucasian to African American to Jewish and Samoan. And the end of the book says that whatever haircut you choose, we should celebrate our differences. So the lesson that children can learn from this is that even though our hair can look different on different people, that we're all special in our own way, and we should celebrate our differences. So one activity I would do with this is by having children make a self-portrait. There are, you can buy these foam cutouts of heads that have different colors, for different skin tones. And so I would get those, or you could use paper, it doesn't matter. I would have a bunch of those chosen and already cut out for the children to choose, and I would let them, probably in a small group setting, let them draw their eyes, their nose, all their facial features, and then I would get different colors of yarn for hair color and let them cut it and glue it onto their foam head. And when everyone was done, we could make a collage on the wall or a bulletin board and talk about how everyone's different but special. So this activity would be great for having them practice their fine motor skills with cutting and gluing and drawing, and also their art skills and their cognitive skills, since they're having to think about their facial features and different things about them. So that is that book. And the last book that I chose is called Being With You This Way by W. Nicola Lisa and illustrated by Michael Bryant. The age group for this book is also ages 4 through 8. And these illustrations are also very realistic, but slightly different than the previous book. The setting of this book appears to be some kind of a public park with swings and place for people to walk and things. So this book is different than the other two books because it is actually written as a rap that this little girl is singing or rapping to her friends. It takes place in a park with people of different ages, races, and genders. And on each page, the little girl acknowledges one way that two people on that page are different. So the first one that she talks about is how two people have different kinds of hair, but then she goes on to say, different, yes, but the same. Isn't it great being with you this way? And every page is like that, where she adds a new feature of someone, their eyes, their legs, their arms, and says how they're different but the same, and isn't it great being with you this way? So by the end of the book, it goes through and she lists all the different ways that all the people were different, and then she says, isn't it great being with you this way? So the end of the book, the lesson that children can learn from this is that even though everyone's different, that we can all still get along. And she even mentions that, we're going to be different the rest of our lives, but the point is that, we can still get along even if we're different. So one activity I would do with this is I would have my students draw different members of their community, and I would do this after already doing a study on community helpers. If it's younger children or if it's older children, I would, maybe do a mini lesson just reviewing what community helpers are. And I would give each student a piece of paper, and either maybe in small groups or in maybe a table with other students, they could discuss different members of their community, and then they would draw them on the piece of paper. And so I would have them, draw 3 to 4 different members of their community, like their policeman or their mail person or their garbage carrier. And when we were done, I would have them come up and talk about their community helpers to the rest of the class and talk about how they're different, but they all have the same job. So even though someone's mail carrier might be a African American woman and another person might have a Caucasian man, they still do the same job even though they're different. So those are the 3 books that I chose.